Hi there, it's Brian again with Chapter 2 of From Zero to Journey. This is a YouTube channel and video log meant for owners of or people interested in Airstream Caravel 16RB trailers. I mentioned in the first chapter there's lots of information out there about all Airstream products and Airstream 16RBs, but I wanted to do a little more, provide sort of an inside look at what it's like to actually own one of these small Airstream trailers. As an update in real time, today our newly purchased Caravel 16RB was picked up by the shipping company in Clarkston, Michigan from Woodland Airstream. Many thanks to Brian out there. And it is en route now to Oregon. We're so excited to see, hopefully it gets here safe, and then we can start actually not just talking about trailers, but showing them off and letting you see things as they are out and about as well. So this topic that I wanted to talk about in Chapter 2, I referred to as the allure of the small trailer versus the allure of a large or very large trailer. And the reason I think this topic is important is because as soon as you enter into the world of shopping for and buying a trailer of any kind or of any size, you immediately get thrown into this world of having to decide how small do you want it for convenience sake versus how large do you want it for the sake of comfort and luxury and all of that. And it may seem simple, like, well, maybe some people just walk up to it and go, nope, we know the right one for us. It's 22 feet or it's 25 feet or whatever it is. But I think it's harder at the ends, either the very small end or the very large end, because I haven't looked up this statistic, but I would guess most trailers that people buy kind of end up in that 22 to 26 foot range, somewhere in there. They're not ridiculously long. They still fit in lots of places, and they pretty much have quite a bit of room inside for all kinds of different conveniences. But when you look at the small end, 16, there's a bit of, at least for us, there was a bit of hesitation around, is this just too small? Are we going to be really sorry that we did this? And balancing that with the convenience that we can already see comes along with the small trailer. So I'd like to talk about that just a little bit. And I'll do that by beginning with talking about how camping at one level can be as simple as a tent and a Coleman stove and a campsite and a picnic table, that sort of thing. So when you choose to do tent camping, it's pretty simple. You get a campsite that you like, maybe near a stream or in shade if that's what you're looking for. You set up your tent, you put the Coleman stove on the picnic table, maybe you have a lantern there, and your sleeping bags and sleeping pads go in the tent, and you're done. And there's not a whole lot to worry about, whether you get a 12 by 12 tent or a 10 by 10 or a 16 by 16 are the real big issues. And the difference between small and large is a few $100s. It's not that significant of a thing to deal with. So the pros of camping that way with a tent is that you get to hear nature, you get to hear the wind, you hear the rain, you smell the campfire, you get a sense of connection to the earth. And I've spent many, many nights camping in tents in a nice sleeping bag on a inflatable mattress. We like those thermarests because they're not bulky, but they give you a lot of padding and warmth. But when you're doing that, the pro side of that is you get all that connection to the earth and it feels good. But there's a downside too, which is there's a dampness in the tents. There's the comfort of sleep. No matter how comfortable those thermarest pads are, it's not like sleeping in a bed. There's no water, there's no restroom, there's no electricity. Not bad stuff, but you're certainly dealing with that when you sleep in a tent. I would say the experience is not luxurious. It's not completely comfortable. It's fun to do, and it's often worth it to go out in nature and experience that, but it's not comfortable by definition. So when you look at a small trailer, even something as small as the 16RB, you get all of those things. You get a door that closes that gives you a sense of security. You get shelter from the wind, you get shelter from the rain, you get a little bit of water, you get a little bit of electricity, and a much more comfortable bed. So stepping up from tent to a 16-foot trailer gives you a lot, quite a bit of difference between tent experience and trailer experience. However, even with that obvious comfort compared to a tent, if you go shopping for a 16-foot trailer or something in that range, that's something that small, the dealer you go to or the lot that you might go to, right next to the small ones are the large ones. And all you have to do is step inside a 20 or a 25 or a 30-foot trailer, and all of a sudden your senses go, oh, this is nice. Look at this, reclining chairs and a big screen TV and, room to stretch out, place to actually store more stuff. And you can kind of bring home with you quite a bit more when you have a trailer of that size. The downside, of course, is now you've got to have the weight issue and how much vehicle you need to tow that. And you've got the storage issue. You have a lot of times they don't really fit in front of your house or next to your house. You need a storage place for that. There's the logistics of hauling it from A to B and how big a campsite you need to make that thing fit. It's not a simple thing once you get a larger trailer. And again, this isn't to try to convince anyone which is better or worse, small or large, but I want to bring that issue to the front of people's minds. When you buy a small trailer, you're getting convenience compared to a tent, but you're not getting all the luxury that you get in a large trailer. However, you get this compact sort of luxury living, if you will. And I'll spend just a few minutes talking about what I think the benefits of that choice are. So I would say when you're looking at buying potentially the 16RB trailer, don't try to fool yourself into thinking that you still wouldn't be interested in the luxury that a larger trailer offered. If you had the two of them sitting right next to each other in a campsite, and yours is 16, and once it's there and hooked up, and the one next to you is 25, the 25 is going to be nice. There's going to be more room. The seats are going to be bigger. The beds are going to be bigger. That's really fun. And so don't buy something as expensive as a Caravel 16RB without at least acknowledging the fact that you're choosing small. And you're doing it hopefully for good reasons. In the case of ourselves, there are at least 3 or 4 reasons. Number one was we own a GMC Yukon, which is plenty of vehicle for towing the 16RB. It gets a little dicey once you get up into a 22, and for sure it wouldn't do a 25 or 27-foot trailer. And we didn't want to take on the expense of a new trailer and have to go buy a vehicle. So that was one of the considerations. We wanted small because it felt like we were keeping life a little simpler. The second thing we wanted is we wanted the nimbleness and what would you call it? The opportunity that a smaller trailer offers. We've noticed in a few places, like one of our favorite places to go is Mount Rainier up in Washington. And at least one or more of the campgrounds there have a limit on trailer sizes of 18 feet. That means you can't go there with a 20 or a 25 or a 27. Again, not the end of the world. There's plenty of places that allow larger trailers. But we sort of like the fact that, okay, by choosing small, we're making a larger variety of options available to ourselves by keeping it simple with regard to size. The third thing that was an issue for us, or certainly a consideration for us, was smaller trailers are less expensive than larger trailers. Now, it's kind of funny because when you're talking Airstreams, none of them are affordable. They're ridiculously expensive compared to lots of other things. But that's a topic for a different chapter, talking about why we did get ourselves sold on Airstream and why it was worth the extra money to us. So in summary, I guess I just want to say, if you're interested in or have purchased an Airstream 16-foot trailer, I think it's a minority of the trailering population that's going to be comfortable and happy with having purchased something that's compact, easy to tow, easy to store, um, and gives you that nimbleness versus the comfort and luxury that you would get with a 22 or 25 or 30-foot trailer. And we don't have the trailer yet, so we're working on speculation of how we're going to feel. But we did get to tour them at the dealer, and we just liked the way that 16-foot trailer size felt. It felt like a good blend for us of keeping it small and simple, and yet certainly, because it's an Airstream, having a lot of comfort and luxury built in. Looking forward to the next chapter, in which the trailer should either be closer to being here or be here. Can't wait to show pictures and video clips of the trailer when it's actually at our home.